Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, Jack Hammer. Today, we are here at Levi Stadium where the 49ers held day one of their mandatory veteran minicamp over at SAP Performance Center. Let's take a look at everything that stood out about day one of veteran minicamp here in Santa Clara. And it was a good day overall. You look at today, the quarterback situation, the quarterback competition that's been taking place between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance. And quite frankly, today was by far the best that Lance has looked during the 3 off-season practices that have been open to us in the media. Lance finished today 9 of 14 with 3 touchdowns. Those 3 touchdowns all coming during the opening portion of team activities. It was really a 7-on-7 drill down in the red zone. Lance was able to hit on 3 of his 5 attempts. All 3 of Lance's completions resulting in touchdowns. The best of those completions coming when he was able to hit Juwan Jennings in the back left corner of the end zone. It was a beautiful pass by Lance. He was able to put the ball up early. That ball actually went up in the air before Jennings had even made the upfield portion of his cut. He was still running the out when the ball left Lance's hands. Lance put the ball right in the back corner of the end zone, right along right in front of the back pylon, and Jennings was able to come down with a grab for a nice touchdown there. It was a really good one. He had a couple of others as well. So not too bad there. Really good start for Lance. Like I said, he was 3 of 5. He hit one of his misses. There was good coverage, and because of that, he's bailed out to his right. He had rookie Ronnie Bell open along the back end of the end zone. The throw was just off the mark a little bit for the incompletion there. The other one was a vertical route to Cam Latu. The tight end had pretty good coverage there. And I don't think Lance was trying to get it to him. I think Lance just threw that ball out of the back of the end zone because it wasn't open, so he just threw the ball away. So not a bad start there for Lance in terms of the red zone portion of the day in 7-on-7s. But then once they got into team drills, it was a little bit rough for Lance at the beginning of the practice, but it didn't continue. You look at the way that it started off today. On the first play, Lance dropped back. It was play action. He had Cameron Latu open on a deep over route. The throw just came up short. He just didn't get it to him. The throw came up. It was an inaccurate throw, just short of Latu for the incompletion. Then the next play off of boot action. So Lance play fake to the left side. He's booting out to his right. He has Ray McLeod open in the flat. The ball comes out just a tick late, and cornerback A.J. Parker was able to break nicely on the ball, get a hand on it, and knock it away. So that beginning of the team drills for Lance wasn't very good, but like I said, he's already 3 of 5 to start in the red zone. But now he has these 2 incompletions to start off team drills. You're thinking this might be a rough day for Lance, but not so fast. He came back from that, and he was nearly perfect the rest of the practice as he connected on 6 of his final 7 throws. You look at those throws, there was a couple of checkdowns to begin with, but then Lance started getting the ball down the field. You know, we talked a lot after the first 2 weeks of the OTA practices about how neither of the quarterbacks were really pushing the ball down the field very much, especially Lance. He was mostly around the line of scrimmage within that 5-yard range. Today, though, started pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. So, like I said, a couple of check down throws, but then he rips a deep out to Ray McLeod along the right side. And really nice throw. Came out on time. Just as McLeod's making the break, the ball comes out of Lance's hand. Perfect spiral. And McLeod's able to make the catch right along the right sideline for a big gain. Then you go to the final 3 throws of the day for Lance, and this is where he was really looking good. All of them down the field. The completion to Brandon Ayuk, who's running a dig route from the left side, running left to right, off of play action. Lance able to get the ball out of his hand quick, hits him in stride, and then a really nice move by Ayuk for a big gain there. They come back on the next play, and it's a deep in route for Danny Gray. And that was a really nice ball from Lance. It was 3rd and 8, I believe, was what the situation was right there. It was a deep in from Gray, and Lance did a really nice job of layering that ball over the linebackers in front of the safeties. Gray was able to make that catch and just take off untouched for a big gain. Probably would have been I'm not sure if it would have been a touchdown. Quite possibly, though, the way that the defense was on that one. So it was a really nice throw by Lance and really nice run after the catch by Gray. And then, last but not least, was a seam up the middle from Lance to Ray McLeod. And this was a tight throw in that it is right in front of rookie safety Jair Brown. So he's able to, again, another good example of Lance being able to get the ball out of his hand, beat the coverage, get that ball over the middle for a nice gain down the middle of the field. In a game situation, I don't think Brown gets to the ball, but there's definitely going to be a collision between McLeod and Brown at the catch point of that play. But again, those 3 balls from Lance, probably the best 3 that we've seen of him throughout this offseason so far. The 2 OTA practices we had the last couple of weeks, and then today, the day 1 of mandatory minicamp. Those downfield throws were the best that we've seen. None of them down the field shots, high arcing throws. These were balls that were, in that mid-range where quarterbacks have to live, that 20 to 25-yard range. That's where quarterbacks make their money. And these were really nice throws by Trey Lance. So a really good day, I felt, from Lance, especially, like I said, the good part about the day today was it wasn't terrific in the beginning. It was actually a little rough, like I said. But then as the day went along, Lance continued to get better. So that was a really positive development of the day for Trey Lance and the 49ers. And now really quick, I just want to shout out, we got our buddy, my buddy, I should say, Raphael 5629ers, member of the Toolbox, says, "What's up, Jack?" Members of the Toolbox and everyone. Good to have you on board, Raphael 5629ers. Good to have you here. And then Andrew H. wants to know about Ambry Thomas and Jalen Moore. Ambry Thomas actually working with the first team defense today, and Jalen Moore continues to work with the first team offense at left tackle. He's actually working with the first team offense at left tackle and with the third team offense at left tackle. So he's right in that range somewhere. Not a bad day for either one of those two, either Ambry Thomas or Jalen Moore. But let's keep it going. We're going to keep talking about the quarterbacks here. We're going to, we talked about Trey Lance. He was 9 of 14, excuse me. Good day, rough start, good finish, really good finish. Sam Darnold, I thought he was good today as well, but his day was kind of the reverse. It had a really strong start, then it had a dip in the middle, and then it finished strong. So you look at his day, and it was the reverse of a bell curve, right? The bell curve goes like this. That was Sam Darnold's day if you flip it over. It started here, and then it went down, and then it got back up. The Darnold finished today 8 of 12, so 75% completions. And like I said, again, most of these throws today, actually, it was nice because you had the offensive line and defensive line. You had pressure around the quarterbacks for most of the day. But again, you started the practice off with each quarterback, Lance and Darnold, getting 5 throws in a 7-on-7 red zone drill. So no pressure at that point. During that portion of practice, Darnold completed 4 of his 5 attempts, 2 of them for touchdowns. One of those, the only incompletion that Darnold had, was actually a drop from Danny Gray in the end zone. So both quarterbacks should have ended with 3 touchdowns, but Gray with the drop, you don't get one there. He also had a check down throw to second-year running back Jordan Mason. Mason not able to get in the end zone there. Good coverage by the linebackers to converge. I think they probably would have dropped him about the 1 or 2, so that's why he doesn't get credit for a touchdown there, even though the ball went into the end zone. But good start there. And then you get to team drills, and that's when things started to unravel a little bit at the beginning for Sam Darnold. The first play of team drills, it's play action, good pressure down the field, and he does a good job. He escapes out to his right. Like I said, good coverage down the field, and he's able to, on the move, connect with Christian McCaffrey for a gain of 5 over in the right flat. That's the first play. But then the next play, it was nearly the first interception by either of the quarterbacks during the offseason practices open to the media. Working off play action, Darnold tried to fit the ball into Brandon Ayuk. So, we've all seen the 49ers play, right? They run the play action, the quarterback stands up, and he fires that quick route across the middle. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo run that play repeatedly during his time as a 49er. That's what they were trying to do here. He's trying to get it into Brandon Ayuk. However, cornerback Deommodore Lenoir had really good positioning, did a really good job of undercutting the route of Ayuk, and was able to get both hands on the ball, but he wasn't able to hold on to it for the interception. So really nice play by the defensive side. It's the good read by the quarterback. Throw's got to be maybe a little bit more out in front. It's one of those tough plays that we see it quite often with the 49ers. But this was a really good play by Lenoir. With Darnold, probably don't want him to necessarily throw that ball because you don't want to get the turnover. But then you kind of look at the practice and how it went on, and he was able to finish with a really couple of nice throws of his own. Just talked about Lance and the 3 in a row that he had. We had similar with Darnold. First one was a deep ball down the left sideline. Ayuk got behind the defender, Brandon Ayuk did, and the throw came up a little bit short, but he was able to come down with the catch and bring it in. It was a gain of about 35 yards, right around there. No run after the catch, a better throw, and it's a touchdown, but still a big gain there. And then the very next play, the 49ers defense is in man coverage. The 49ers, Darnold has Danny Gray running a crossing route from his left to his right, puts the ball right on the money, and Gray doesn't have to break stride, and he's up the sideline for another big gain. So both quarterbacks having a very strong finish to the day, and in between, it was a little bit of a mixed bag between the two. But again, I think Trey Lance had his best practice of the offseason so far, at least what we've been able to see. And I feel like Sam Darnold had a pretty good practice, but just not quite as strong throughout the second portion of the practice as he was in the beginning of practice. And then you get to Brandon Allen. Hey, this guy was Mr. Perfect through the first two practices. I think he was 12 of 12, somewhere around there. Today, the first two throws, what do you think? Throws a couple of incompletions, but then after that, he hits his next four right back on the perfect side. So he finished his day 4 of 6. Good day for the 49ers. Really hit the third quarterback on the 49ers roster today. So again, Trey Lance, 9 of 14. Sam Darnold, 8 of 12. And then 4 of 6 for Brandon Allen. You may see a report that said that Darnold was 8 of 13. The reason that I have him at 8 of 12 is because I didn't include a play in which there was an offsides along the front. I don't know if it was on the offense or the defense, but I know for sure Eric Armstead was across it into the guard prior to the snap. And then what ended up happening was Darnold just threw the ball into the ground. It was supposed to be a screen out to the right side to Christian McCaffrey, and he just ended up burning it. So didn't count that one as an incompletion because I didn't think it was a play that would have actually occurred in a game. So that's why that one didn't show up on my numbers for the day. So again, Lance, 9 of 14, Darnold, 8 of 12, and 4 of 6 for Brandon Allen. And if you guys could do me a favor, please hit that like button. Michael Herr wants to know how the O-line was holding up against the defensive line. For the most part, it was pretty good. The quarterbacks had a little bit of pressure in front of them, not too much. Remember, now quarterbacks aren't going to get hit regardless because it's practice. There was some pressure at times. You saw, like I said, there was the one where, the one with Darnold where he had to escape out to his right. He's looking to throw. That's a shot play. They're trying to get that ball deep. He's looking deep. Nothing's there. He escapes out to his right and makes a throw. But overall, the offensive line against the defensive line has held up pretty well. You got to remember, there's no Nick Bosa. There's no Javon Hargrave. So you've got Drake Jackson and on one side. Inside, you have, who was it? Kevin Givens. And I believe it's Javon Kinlaw that's been playing inside of there. And you've got Clelin Ferrell over on the other side. So they don't have some of their best pass rushers on there. Actually, Eric Armstead was in there today with Kevin Givens on that starting front. So right now, the offensive line's holding its own. We're going to get a much better read of that once we get the training camp pads come on and we get to see these guys really go at it. How long was that pass to Gray? I believe you're asking me, Frankie, the throw to from Lance to Gray. I think that's the one you're talking about. The one from Lance to Gray, that was about 20 to 25 yards downfield. From throw to catch point, and then you have the run after the catch. It was a really nice throw. Like I said, it's a deep dig route, and then the throw from the other one to Gray that I said that went for a big gain from Darnold. That's just a short throw, probably about 8 yards down the field. It's just a crosser. He's gaining depth as he's going across. That one, what's good about that is because he put it right on the money. So those two there. Hall and Tracy, do you think they're going to start the season with Lance? That all depends on what happens with Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy is healthy, I believe there will be a competition between Lance and Purdy for the starting quarterback job. I do think that if Brock Purdy is fully healthy, he wins any competition and that he would be the starting quarterback for the 49ers week 1 in Pittsburgh. We'll see how it all plays out, though. That's one of the fun things about this whole process. The 49ers have a lot of competition going on throughout their roster. You have it here with the quarterbacks. You have it with the kickers as well. So a lot of competition throughout this roster. Shepo Molefe wants to know what I think of the overall performance regarding the whole team. I thought today's performance was decent. I thought today's practice was a lot better than what we saw last week when we were here on Wednesday for the second week of OTAs. Felt like that practice was a little all over the board. I think today it was a stronger outing for the team. So I felt that was good. The only thing that I would like to see is when we, right now it's hard because you don't have the pads on, so you're not able to really get some of the contact that really shows you the differences. So there's that part. We do get to watch the next practice as well. Frankie wants to know why I believe Purdy's going to win the competition. I think that there's the difference between Lance and Purdy is the consistency with which Purdy delivers the ball. If Purdy is fully healthy and he's able to play in training camp this year the way that he played over the 8 games of last season, that's better than what we've seen out of Trey Lance so far. Lance, again, he had a really solid outing at the end of the day today, but I just think that Purdy is the guy. If you're the leader in the clubhouse, the other guy has to really do better than you. And what I haven't seen Lance be better than what we saw from Purdy at the end of the season. That's just where we are right now. Who knows? But all accounts say that Lance and Purdy are going to be competing for this thing, and that Purdy is probably going to be on the field sooner than expected during training camp. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how this whole thing plays out. No questions about the quarterback they're bringing in to work out tomorrow. It'll be interesting to hear how this goes. A lot of times, the 49ers did this last year around the same time. It might even have been training camp. I can't remember exactly the time frame, but they had a quarterback came in throwing, and part of the reason that quarterback was in and throwing was because they had some wide receivers and other skill position players, and you need to have somebody throw, and you can't have one of the guys on the roster throwing during workout. So we'll see as far as Jack Cohn, how much that is about him as to whether it might just be somebody else out there that is getting a look and they need a quarterback to throw the ball for them. So we'll see. So there's that part of it so far. Randall, another member of the toolbox, says Purdy, if 100%, will be QB1 against the Steelers. That should not even be a question. I agree with you on that part. Let's keep rolling. The other guy that's looking really good so far is Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has really stood out in these practices to the point where Deebo Samuel today says you can't cover him in a phone booth right now. That's what he said to the media after practice, and that's the way it looks. As Ayuk's all over the field, he's making plays. He caught 3 of the 4 targets today, including the touchdown from Sam Darnold again in that red zone drill. He got open along the back line. Darnold hit him in stride, put the ball right on him for a touchdown there. He also had the deep ball that he caught from Sam Darnold. And then in addition to that, he has a nice throw over the middle from Lance, where he basically shook Jair Brown. He caught the ball, Brown and he just gives him a little move to the left, a little move to the right, and he's gone. And Brown doesn't even get a hand on him. So Brandon Ayuk looking really good. And then I mentioned Danny Gray a couple of different times, and I think it's important to kind of point out Gray's practice today. I felt like he had a good day today. He opened practice with a drop from Sam Darnold in that red zone drill. But after that, he came back and he did really well. He beat Diameter Lenore across the field for a big gain on a completion from Darnold. That's the one I was talking about on that crossing route. And then he also had that nice deep in route that he caught from Trey Lance at the end of practice, sprinting past the safety untouched for a big gain, possibly even a long touchdown play. So really good there from Danny Gray. Rough beginning, good ending. See, that's part of what you've got to look at. Some of these guys are going to have mistakes, and you got to look at the whole picture. And it was a good day from Danny Gray. And then Diameter Lenore, he just continues to look good. He's been looking strong throughout the offseason practice. Today was the pass breakup near interception on Ayuk on that crosser, as I mentioned. So Diameter Lenore is looking really good in the secondary, as is Oren Burks. Oren Burks, a linebacker, was brought in, and a lot of people look at him as a special teams ace, and he's really been doing a good job at linebacker. He looked pretty good last week. Now today was even better. He had a couple of pass breakups. So you look at the incompletions from Sam Darnold. One of those was a throw to Christian McCaffrey that Burks was able to make a nice break on and knock that ball away. The other was to Braden Willis. Willis was running a route. It was going to be a tight window throw, and Burks was able to get his hand up, knock the ball away. The ball was still able to get to Willis a little bit, but that ball had been tipped before it hit him. And so it was not a drop. It's a pass breakup. Really nice play from Oren Burks. So Deommodore Lenoir and Oren Burks, two 49ers defensive players who really stood out, as did undrafted free agent defensive tackle Spencer Wege. This guy comes from North Dakota State, undrafted. He played defensive end there. The 49ers have him playing in a defensive tackle. And today he made a really nice play against the run. Now remember, they can't actually tackle and wrap up, but the 49ers are running an outside zone to the right side, and he's able to run down. He's able to get down the line of scrimmage, and he was able to get to where I think if the pads are on and you're playing the game, he makes a tackle on Jordan Mason at the line of scrimmage. That's how quick this guy is. He's able to fight through, get down the line of scrimmage, running right down the line, and get to Jordan Mason. He would have dropped him, I think, for no gain. So Spencer Wege, another one of those defensive players that's really standing out. And then as far as one who got to be a lot of question marks right now is the third-round draft pick, Jair Brown. The 49ers traded up for Brown. It's not that he hasn't played good, that he's played bad. It's not that he's played poorly, but we just haven't seen him make a play on the ball in any of the three practices that have been open to the media. Everything's been caught in front of him, and that's good. As a free safety, a lot of times, it's okay if the ball gets caught in front of you. The problem today for Brown is that there were a couple of plays where he didn't even get his hand on a receiver as they ran by. One was the completion that I mentioned earlier from Lance to Brandon Ayuk, where Ayuk just basically shakes him and just drops him to his knees. Doesn't get a hand on him. The other one on the deep end route from Danny Gray, and Gray just sprints right by Brown. Brown's reaching out, not able to touch him, and Gray's gone. And those are the kind of things that as a free safety, that's one of the areas that the 49ers were pretty good in with Jimmy Ward as that deep free safety. And right now with Brown, he's struggling right now. And I think that's in that portion of the game, which is why I think we're seeing Brown still running with the twos, even though Tayshaun Gibson's not on the field. When they go to team portion right now, you have Talon Hufanga working alongside the safety that they brought in last year, and that's one bit of it there. So Jair Brown is actually, I think, third on the depth chart behind those two. So we'll have to wait and see a little bit on where Brown fits into this whole mix, how he's able to improve, if he's able to improve. We'll see how this whole thing goes along. Got a couple super chats over here that I want to hit before we continue on, and we can always ask, definitely get to some of your questions. Paul and Tracy, thank you for the super chats. To start with Lance, let Purdy recover slowly. Your thoughts? I'm pretty consistent on my thoughts with this, and my thoughts are, if Brock Purdy is fully healthy, if Brock Purdy is cleared to play, and he feels that he can play, if he's cleared as early in training camp as some of the reports are suggesting he might be. Remember, he was throwing a full-size football on May 29th. That's well ahead of schedule because his throwing regimen was supposed to have started around that time, and the throwing starts with a tennis ball, racquetball, smaller types of balls. For him to already be throwing a full-size football at that point shows that he's well ahead of schedule. The answer to this question really is, it just really depends on where Purdy is. If Purdy's cleared and he's back on the field, let's say early on in training camp, then he's ready to go. If it's, not until a week before the season starts, which was the original timeline, if he's not cleared to go until, the 25th of August, which isn't until after the final preseason game, then in that case, No, you start with Lance because Purdy's not going to. I don't think Purdy will be recovered at that point. But all signs on this point to Purdy being back in practice at training camp way earlier than was ever reported to begin with. Remember, the original report was 6 months. Right now, he's tracking ahead of that slightly. But you look at the guys who have undergone this surgery in the past, and they've all been back much sooner than their time frame. So Nick Mullins was 5 months when he was cleared. Jake Delhomme was fully cleared from a full Tommy John surgery after just 7 months. So if Purdy's cleared and he's able to take part in, say, the last month of practice, which would be August 14th, if he hits the field August 14th, and he's able to go through all that, no, you don't hold him back. And I hear people, some of this is, I hear people saying that, you don't want to ruin Purdy's career, yada, yada, yada. Well, I mean, in 1986, Joe Montana had career-threatening back injury, had surgery, and was back on the field 56 days later. The time frame for Purdy is going to be much longer than that. If his arm's strong, if his arm's holding up, he's at no more of a risk to injure the arm through throwing the ball than he was prior to it. The only way that he's at a risk is by getting hit, but he doesn't have any control of that, and the 49ers coaching staff has no control over it, and that's really all comes down to the offensive line protecting him. So if Purdy's healthy, you let those guys compete and you go from there. Frankie HB says, thank you for your super chat. He says, thanks, Jack. I appreciate you calling it as you see it. Absolutely. That's all I try to do that. And that's why, with my reports, I always try to make sure that when it comes to the reports that I give here, the reports I give in my write-ups for the Press Democrat, you're going to get the good, you're going to get the bad with each player, unless it's just all bad. But usually even on a rough day for any of these players, you can find something good out about them that they did, especially with the quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. But again, Trey Lance, 9 of 13. I see what goes. You're saying 9 of 14 with 4 TDs. You can say that if you want. The throw to Gray, I don't know if it's a touchdown or not because they don't run it out to the end zone, right? It was a really nice play. It was a really good day for Lance. As far as some of the other pieces of today, that Jordan Mason, we saw what he was capable of last year in the running game. We saw what he was able to do there. He's continued to look strong as a runner, but you're also seeing him start to show off his hands. He did a little bit last week during OTAs. He did it again today. He held in a pair of throws from Darnold down in the red zone. The first one was that little underneath route that he gets tackled around the 1 or 2. Maybe he even runs through those guys for a touchdown. I don't know. But because of where they were situated, I'm not giving him the touchdown there. But then he does come back a couple of plays later, catches a ball in the left flat, a really nice ball from Darnold for a touchdown. So Jordan Mason starting to show the things that he's going to need to be able to, if he's going to become more of the number 2 back for the 49ers. And based off of what we're seeing right now, he's going to have a shot at competing really strongly for that second back in that rotation. And we're going to get back to that in just a minute when we get to Elijah Mitchell. Kevin Givens is another guy who I think continues to stand out. This is a guy who he's not the biggest stature, but he always plays well. With Javon Hargrave not participating in team drills, Givens has continued to get to work with that first unit. Today, the veteran defensive tackle held up well in the run game. He made a really nice play on Jordan Mason to stop him for a short gain up the middle. So a good day from Kevin Givens. It continues to show well. Samuel Womack got beat by Raymond McLeod on that deep out. But other than that, he rebounded nicely. The next play, it's a deep ball from Trey Lance to Ronnie Bell down the right sideline. And he's running stride for stride with the rookie. The pass from Lance high and out of bounds. Good coverage, though, from Womack there. And then earlier in practice, he had a really nice one on that deep over route to Cameron Latu, in which Lance's throw came up short. Womack seemed, from the angle that I was standing, it looked like he was trailing a little bit too much, but he was able to start making ground on Latu. I don't know if he would have been able to make a play on the ball, but it looked like he was really starting to run that thing down and maybe would have been in a position to knock the ball away. Don't think he would have been able to get there for an interception to undercut it like what we saw from Diamond Lenore. But again, showing his speed, Womack had been working with that starting unit over the first portion of OTAs. Today, working with that second group, but I don't really put a whole lot of stock in that whole thing because they also had Ambry Thomas working with the ones today. And then a couple of other cornerbacks down on the depth chart: AJ Parker, Deshaun Jameson. They each were able to record a pass breakup today. Parker's coming on a throw from Lance in the right flat. That was the one out to I believe it was Rayward McLeod. He was able to get his hand on that one. And then Jameson was on a throw from Brandon Allen to Willie Snead over on the left side. He was able to knock that one away. And there goes Juwan Jennings screaming by in the background on his way out of practice. Elijah Mitchell, mentioned his name a minute ago. The running back missed practice today. This is the second practice in a row that the media has been on hand that he has not been participating. He was working on a side field, according to Kyle Shanahan. The running back is working through something. They don't have to give us the specifics right now because it's not training camp yet. The thing here is this just isn't a good sign for a player who's missed significant time due to injury over the first 2 seasons of his NFL career. So Elijah Mitchell not participating in practice today. Nick Bosa on hand. The all-pro defensive end was here at the 49ers facility, but didn't participate in practice. He wasn't out on the field at all. Last year, Deebo Samuel was in a contract dispute during this point of the year. He was on the field throughout the practice. Last year was Deebo Samuel. Nick Bosa never touching the field. Instead, according to Shanahan, was in the weight room. One good thing, though, about Bosa and his situation, the defensive end saying he's confident that a new contract is going to be in place prior to training camp. So that's good news for the 49ers if they can get that done. If he doesn't miss any, Bosa is known to be a very hard worker, gets himself in great shape. This is the first time we've gotten to a mini camp where he hasn't participated. So interested to see how that all plays out. Because remember, Deebo Samuel, like I said, he was here during this portion, but he didn't participate in any practices. He was here, but didn't go through anything. And then he struggled last year. And Deebo Samuel, that's next up on the list. He went through he was here last week. He was here again today, went through all the individual portion of practice, then stepped out and worked on the side during the team drills. The veteran wide receiver spoke to us after practice and classified his performance last season as awful in every aspect. There wasn't anything good about it. And he said that he had actually talked with Kyle Shanahan about his performance. They went through some film and those types of things. And he said that if you watch the film, it shows up pretty easily. And we know that JT O'Sullivan pointed out some of that from the NFC Championship game, and there's other examples throughout the season. Samuel today, very forthright, saying that the distractions of last season got him off of his normal routine, which is part of what led to his poor performance. He just wasn't ready to go. We'll see what happens. Again, he wasn't actually practicing today. I shouldn't say he wasn't practicing. He didn't go through the full practice today, didn't work on the team stuff, but he was there for the individual portion. So we'll see how it progresses this offseason for Deebo Samuel. And then Javon Hargrave, the 49ers' big prize addition in free agency this year. He made his on-field debut in front of the media. Like Samuel, Hargrave went through only the individual portion of practice, didn't participate in the team drills. But this is going to be a fun one to watch. Nick Bosa, after practice, talking about how important it is to have Javon Hargrave on this team. And really from the fact that last year that defensive interior was a revolving door. Eric Armstead was out. Javon Kinlaw was out. There was just a lot of things going on with that interior of the 49ers defense last year along the line. Having Hargrave here, having Armstead, if those two guys are healthy, I think it's going to help Nick Bosa get right back to where he was last year. So that's it for today. Again, the quarterbacks really quick, 9 of 14, 3 touchdowns for Trey Lance. Sam Darnold, 8 of 12, 2 touchdowns. And then Brandon Allen, 4 of 6. I think that goes through most of the good, most of the bad. JJ wants to know, are we impressed by throws made with no pass rush? Yes and no, right? They still got to read the defense. Last week, the first 2 weeks, you look at the numbers during the beginning of OTAs for both of the quarterbacks, and that's almost all against air, with no pass rush, no offensive line in front of you. And those numbers were pretty good, but there's also a lot of checkdowns. Today, you get into the 7-on-7. There's a couple of throws that are down the field. Again, The throw made from Trey Lance to Juwan Jennings, I don't care if there's a pass rush or not. The timing on that was beautiful. It was a really nice throw. I feel like the throw that Lance made on a touchdown in the back of the end zone, I think it was to Juwan Jennings. I felt like that was a beautiful ball. Put it high, right over the top of the linebackers, and Jennings was able to make the play along the end line. So I thought that was a really good ball. Same thing, Sam Darnold putting the ball right on the money along the back line to Brandon Ayuk for a touchdown. I thought that was a good one. So, yeah, you can be impressed with throws that aren't made, that come without a pass rush. It just depends on what's happening. If it's just a bunch of check down 5-yard passes, then not necessarily. But you again, that's why you have to look at the full situation, the full scope of what's going on. And I think it was pretty good. Let's see what else we've got. Just want to check really quick, see if there was any other. Holland Tracy says, do you think Trey's delivery has improved? Is it quicker, shorter, in your opinion? I think that we've seen Lance make some of the throws like he made today, even back in 21. Is it shorter or is it quicker? If it is, it's barely, but there's so much made out of that. We'll get a better idea as far as how quick his delivery is and how short it is when he's got bodies around him. And I mean that more in games where he's going to get hit, maybe a little bit more in training camp when you get a little bit more pressure on these guys. But, again, Lance looked good today. I think the biggest takeaway is whether you want to talk about his delivery, say whatever you want, but the play from Trey Lance, the performance that he put on the field today was good. And it's funny because the first throw that he did, that little back and forth bag drill, I know that it was a big deal on Twitter this weekend. One of the first throws he threw in front of us doing that drill, airmailed the coach again. But overall, it was a good practice, especially when you for me with Lance, I wanted to see what he could do with an offensive and defensive line in front of him. He had struggled with that a little bit throughout the beginning of OTAs and camp. So I wanted to see what that looked like. So I felt like he did a really good job overall today, did Trey Lance. And I thought that both the quarterbacks, for the most part, did pretty good. Were there any bad drops? No, there weren't. I don't think there was any drops today. I think most of the incompletions were just bad throws or pass breakups. There's quite a few pass breakups, which was part of what we talked about here as well. Just checking really quick to make sure. We got Game Time saying that Darnold didn't look good. Well, that's good since you weren't here. I'm sure you know what he looked like. Nah, I have no problem with Lance. I've said this all along. When Trey plays good, I'm going to tell you that he played good. If he played poorly, I'm going to tell you that he played poorly. I'm pretty upfront with that stuff with all the quarterbacks. I thought he had a good day today. Why do most writers want to talk bad on Trey, but Sam, the big bust, Darnold looked good? I don't think any of us make him look good. It's his performance. Those are his numbers. I mean, it is what it is. Did Lance get in a fight with Kyle? No, that didn't happen. Greg Escon says, bye-bye. Kinlaw, hello, Wiggy. Definitely that could be something down the road there as well. So, again, good day here in Santa Clara. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been going for about 40 minutes. But, again, good day for Trey Lance. It was a solid effort for Lance today. 9 of 14, 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 8 of 12, a pair of touchdowns. Some really good plays by Brandon Ayuk. The guy's just continuing to be a standout wide receiver. He's really looking good. Texas Niners asking how Colton McKivitz is looking. He's looking solid out there with the starting right tackle. I didn't mention this, but as far as that offensive line, we know what the starting lineup is. It's Trent Williams at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, same center. Blanking on his name right now. I apologize. Right side, you have Burford, and then you have McKivitz out at right tackle. With the second group, you have John Feliciano getting the reps today at center. I think that's a good move for the 49ers. And then out at right tackle, you had the other free agent that they signed this year as well. He's working with the second group. So McKivitz, being the starter out at right tackle, looking good. Brendel doing a good job at center. Burford looking good at right guard, as is Aaron Banksville on the other side. And Jalen Moore right now is working with the ones and the threes at left tackle. So that's your offensive line group there. So there you have it. Manny Fresh wants to know, Jack, who would you start if Purdy can't go week 1? How am I supposed to know? We got another day tomorrow of minicamp. And then we have training camp. And that's where we're going to figure out. If Purdy can't go, the answer to this question will be decided by Sam Darnold and Trey Lance on the field. And it's going to depend on, I think you go into that with Trey Lance as the leader in that clubhouse, right? And if the competition is between Darnold and Lance is the leader in the clubhouse, which means that same thing is just like Lance has to show that he's better than Purdy, Darnold has to show that he's better than Lance. If the two are even, the tie goes to Lance. So, we'll see how it looks during training camp, but I would say it's probably going to be Lance would be based on the fact that Darnold hasn't just beat him out. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's partly why the 49ers are so high on Purdy. It's because of the way that he played and he showed that he could do it. So there you have it, everybody. Take it for what it's worth. I appreciate you all for watching. If you guys can do me a favor before you leave, hit that like button. And then if you're watching the show and you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and then turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the updates here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Again, this was day 1 of 49ers minicamp. We will be back tomorrow for day 2. So yes, you get to get my reports live from Santa Clara both days. So thanks a lot for watching. Take care, everybody. We'll be talking with you soon.